If you're in need of a new K-drama fix, you might want to check out the Netflix limited series, The Bequeathed. It's heavy on family drama with a bit of murder thrown in. So let's get to it. After the death of an unknown uncle, a woman inherits a burial ground and finds herself in the center of a string of murders and dark secrets. So this whole story of this 6-episode limited series revolves around a family burial ground that should go to the sole heir of an old uncle. But when another unknown relative shows up, scheming, intrigue, and murders begin to take place. Now, I love how much of this story really does revolve around the theme of family. While a lot of it is between blood relations, some of this delves deeper into those that we choose as our family. Now, I'm going to apologize in advance for mispronouncing a lot of these names. I'm going to do my best, though. So, the central figure in this is Yoon Seo-ha. She's the one who inherits this plot of land from an uncle she didn't even know existed. And much like when somebody wins the lottery or gets a big inheritance, all the family skeletons come out with supposed long-lost relatives looking to cash in. Now, at the uncle's funeral, Seo-ha meets a fairly unstable dude who then claims to be her half-brother. And he's interested in also inheriting the land. Big surprise, right? Well, from here, crazy and unpredictable actions unfurl, leaving swaths of devastation in many different directions. The dramatic arc of this, I think it's pretty engaging, thanks to so many conflicts that Seo-ha finds herself in. And some are just petty, but they do steal the focus for part of the first half of the series. And she has some coworkers who don't play nice, which then compounds the emotional upheaval that she's experiencing thanks to all the new family members that she keeps gaining. Now, the mental torment and unraveling that we witness is both convincing and it's heartbreaking. And because we can also see all of the manipulation and the maneuvers by those against Seo-ha, it's easy to get on her side and then empathize with her injustices that she's facing. Then we have the story arc of Kim Young-hyo. He's the one who claims to be Seo-ha's half-brother. Now, this performance is unhinged and it's very unsettling. The dude is clearly distraught, but the question of why, it isn't immediately addressed, and that helps to maintain an uneasy mystery. Plus, he's prone to outbursts, so when unfortunate events begin to happen to those around Seo-ha, he's naturally the first person that she suspects and tries to get the police to see it too. Now, think of the brother as an extreme stalker. He just shows up unexpectedly in the oddest of situations and then whines, moans, and shouts about the things that he believes he deserves. And it's great for the story tension. Not only is the guy a loose cannon who is so unpredictable that we never can be sure what he's going to do, but he's also so zealous in his stances that it creates visceral visuals and behaviors. Now, while this is the main focus of the familial drama, we also learn of side characters and how they're dealing with family issues also, leading to the conflicts or even complications with Seo-ha. Now, somehow, this plot of land that she didn't know existed, obtained from an uncle she didn't know, creates just this flood of havoc and sketchy characters who want to weasel their way into the ownership, and seemingly by any means necessary. And in probably what is the most touching story of family is the plotline between two police detectives. Now, they have a seriously antagonistic relationship, and it stems from their shared past. Now, it takes a while to get to why that strain is there, but once we get that background, it adds a whole new weight to their relationship. And the strife that exists between them is explosive and it's engaging to watch. I mean, it's even uncomfortable at times and sad, but it's effective in pulling us into the narrative and then becoming connected to those detectives. There are a lot of flashbacks in this, and a couple of times I was a bit lost in the story. And typically this was when the actors were speaking very quickly back and forth, and I was having some difficulties associating which character was being referenced. Aside from that, though, the story is presented in an understandable linear progression, taking us along for the ride and then inserting flashbacks where appropriate to define and explain the context of a particular moment. Now, for as awesome as the mystery is, some plot points felt way more important than they turned out to be. Now, I think in the long run, it did help to provide some motives for characters, but when a large portion of an episode focuses on a topic and then discards it without revisiting only a short time later, it can feel like those previous scenes were more of time fillers than misdirection. Now, thankfully, this isn't something that the story repeats often, but if you get to the end and you think, well, hey, what about X? Just know that it didn't really matter too much in the long run. Now, I think this show nailed the mystery arc of the plot. There might be one or two clues, but for the most part, the reveal was a bit jaw dropping and then a WTF moment. I didn't expect the story to take such a dark turn as it did, but I also applaud the writing for taking the risk and then going there. And I also appreciate that once we get the reveal, there's still an entire episode to go, filled with urgency, stress, and danger. And we've been shown how there's not a lot of plot protection for the characters. So once that climax arrives, we can't be totally sure who the victor is going to be. Now, the finale is exciting, but it's not terribly drawn out. So, it doesn't feel stretched just for dramatic purposes. Instead, it uses a slightly compressed timeline to instill a ton of energy into the scene. Now, setting also helps to add an uneven layer of grittiness to the story. Now, half of this takes place in a very rural setting, where there's more mud and dirt than people or homes. The other half is within city limits, using the anonymity of the streets and then the numerous places to skulk behind to create an atmosphere of fear and suspicion. Now, I know I've been a bit vague on specifics when it comes to the theme of family. Seriously, though, there are at least 10 different character relationships that are directly tied to the idea of family, and most of them don't even showcase positivity. The show delves into more of the traumatic side that can come about from having family. But just because it does that, it doesn't mean that this leaves us wallowing in the bell jar. There are some positive resolutions to leave us with hope rather than despair. Now, while this is patiently told across 6 episodes that are each about 50-ish minutes, the pacing didn't drag. It maintains its momentum through twists and complex interactions, which then allow the time to pass by unnoticed. I ended up really enjoying this series. It's one and done, which is nice, but the storytelling is concise and not simplified. There are enough intricacies to keep the mystery interesting, and then the narrative, it's filled with obsessed and flawed characters that add unpredictability. So overall, The Bequeathed is a captivating mystery, using the theme of family as the background for twisted drama. The reveal is messed up and wrong, but works as an effective surprise, doubling down on the darkness of the story to create stomach-turning scenarios. Not every question investigated is resolved or even remembered, but the final outcome is worth the ride thanks to captivatingly emotional performances that are steeped in sadness and torment. There's no sex, some nudity, a ton of profanity, and a lot of violence. I give The Bequeathed 4.5 out of 5 couches. And this one is going to make you rethink claiming an inheritance from sketchy Uncle Joe. All right, so what are you binging right now? Anything that you're absolutely loving? I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.